Boys and girls, welcome to the House Education Committee. We're going to go ahead and get started. Today, committee, is another great time where we get to spend time honoring our teachers. I know we kind of met them on the House floor, but this is the 2024 Kansas Master Teachers. So we want to welcome them to our committee, obviously. Thank you for what you do. And this is pretty informal. What we kind of want you to do is come up one at a time, or I can call you up. It's entirely up to you. Tell us about you, about your district, something interesting about you, why you wanted to become a teacher, what you teach. You know, we'll start with that. So, all right, I'll call on somebody. You want to go first? Okay. I was gonna pick on my Olathe teacher. You know. Well, welcome. It's good to have you all here.
Hi, okay, so name. I'm Jessica Buchanan. I teach middle school engineering in Mays, Kansas, so outside Wichita. The reason I wanted to become a teacher, honestly, since second grade, I had the best teacher ever, and ever since then, that was my only dream. I feel like I'm living the dream every single day. There's obviously, I'm sure you guys know, lots of challenges in public education right now that we're facing. But despite those challenges, I do feel like it's just a place to make a difference every day. So. Can I ask you guys a question? Just currently, I mean, some of like the voucher bill and stuff like that, is that something this committee works on?
There's no voucher bills in the legislature this year right now.
Okay.
So
what are you guys currently working on in public education?
Oh, I love this.
I'm
This
just
is
curious.
awesome.
Sorry. I can sit down.
I open Pandora's box on this one. So some of the things we're working on, and actually, we're just going to switch everything around. She asked a question, so anybody on the committee that wants to chime in, whatever. We passed out a bill about cardiac emergency response plans and getting AEDs in schools. We passed a policy on DARE funding. That was 2615, I believe. And then we did three bills, 2645, 46, and 47, that had to do with nurses and military families, expanding scholarship access to it. We worked on 2567, which was a bill about veterans. It had to do with assisting them in getting their master's program. We did a bill, let's see, we just passed out Senate Bill 360 last week, and trying to refresh my memory on what that bill, the ABLE Act, yeah. That worked on the ABLE Act. So stuff like that. And we added foster children to the at-risk. So we've done a lot of good, I think, in this committee. Not as many controversial things as usual, but we save that for other education committees.
Good for you guys. Okay.
All right, did I miss anything? Anything else we're working on in here? We dealt with that yesterday, actually. That's right. We didn't talk about the tax bill or the workers' comp bill like I said we would. So those are some of the things we've worked on this year. And then last year we worked on current year funding, and not to drop a hint, but I think that's gonna come up again.
And make us happy.
Huh?
And make us happy. Right?
And make you happy.
Yes, okay, yeah. Good. Okay, well, I just wanted to extend an invitation. I know sometimes there's a disconnect between what's going on in classrooms and what passes, so just if anybody ever wants to come and spend a day or hour, whatever time you guys can get in our classrooms, we've all kind of talked about how, you know, you're always welcome to come see, you know, the 7 best teachers in Kansas. No, just
we got it.
Some representatives of some amazing teachers that we do have. I think Kansas is full of great educators, so.
I always encourage that from the legislators. I filled in as a sub for 3 months with emergency licensing a couple years ago, and that was fun. The mistake I made was they said, what do you want to teach? And I said, wherever you need me. So day 1, first grade, day 2, kindergarten, day 3, pre-K, day 4, high school, and it was just like, the little 17-year-old kids, like, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, you need to go potty? Okay, go ahead. I'm like, wait, you're a senior. Get out of here. Go. Yeah. So it was fun, but the experience, it taught me a lot. So anyway.
Well, thank you guys for what you do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I told you, it's fairly informal. Go ahead.
I was like, his name's Mark.
We're very serious here. So when did you decide to become a teacher?
I mean, really in second grade. Like, I just never
Oh, really?
questioned it, but yeah,
Okay.
that was my goal. Yeah.
That's all I had.
Very good.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Representative Haskins.
Thank you. Congratulations. And I am sorry I missed what is the subject and what do you teach at?
I teach engineering now. So I did fifth grade for 6 years, but then moved to the middle school level, and now we have an engineering elective. So Mays Career Academy is an awesome program that just has a lot of different pathways, like technical education, and so.
Could you expound on that a little bit? Because those are areas of interest for this committee.
For sure. So, like on the engineering or just?
Yeah, just like what successes have you seen from that program? Why should that be supported? And then ask any more questions you have for the chair.
Our, I'll stop on the questions. Our district has actually just recently made, this is the first year of having STEM K through, well, I mean, obviously 12 more is an elective, but our K through 4 elementary schools and then our intermediate schools and our middle schools have electives, but have all supported a STEAM program. We know through research that really kids decide if they can see themselves in a career or not by fourth grade, which is crazy because, you know, we're getting through so many core standards and everything that we need that we don't focus on, like, hey, you might be interested in an engineering career or something in the STEAM pathways. And so just kind of introducing them to that at an early age and being able to show them like they can see themselves in a position like that has been really important. At the middle school level, so obviously my students are, the goal is to see if they're interested in a potential pathway to that or not. You know, sometimes they're like, this was not for me. And I'm like, great, don't waste an elective in high school. But I've had several parents and even teachers come back even just a few years later and say, like, I used to want to be a YouTuber. You know, that's a popular career choice right now. They say, but now after your class, I know I want to be an engineer. And so they'll do stuff at projects at home and start asking to go to like space camp in Hutchinson and just kind of opening their eyes to what it can be and seeing, yeah, like that this is a potential future for me.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun, and congratulations for that opportunity and what you do for the students. Middle school is an important age because that's when they start deciding is college even possible. And I'm glad that you're in such an applicable field because that really adds a lot of accelerated learning for them as to. And my father taught in the middle school, junior high for 38 years, and you guys are warriors because they are interesting and opportunistic students to teach.
Never boring. That's what I tell everybody. Never boring. Cool.
Very good.
Permission to sit down?
Permission granted. Thank you for being here. Congratulations. All right, I'm going to pick on my Sarah Hoffman from Canyon Creek Elementary School because she's from my stomping ground in Olathe. So welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for having the opportunity to be here. As you mentioned, I'm Sarah. I teach in the Olathe School District. I started my career in the Spring Hill School District and then found my way to Olathe because they were opening up a brand new elementary that was going to do project-based learning. And so that was something that really intrigued me that I wanted to get into. If you're not familiar with what that means, I'll just take a quick second because I can talk about it for hours. It's my passion. But basically, our subjects are all integrated. So instead of teaching students through reading, writing, science, and social studies parts of your day, we integrate those all together in type of an authentic project. We bring in community members, specialists, people that are experts in their careers that go along with those projects, and we get to create something for the students that really connects them to their learning. And so that's been my passion ever since I've made it into the Olathe School District, and they've really supported that. And so that's one of the great things that I get to do every day is that. So a little about me.
Do you have questions for the committee?
I don't. I'm really excited to see the buttons over here with fully funding and SPED. I hope that's a part of the work. I can't tell what that one is, but I was going with that one.
It's an airplane.
Okay.
Yeah, we have this, and most of you probably already know this. So we have on the House side, we have the Higher Ed Budget Committee, we have this committee, the Education Policy, and then we have the K-12 Budget Committee. So there's a lot of emphasis on education. So a lot of that policy stuff that involves funding doesn't come in here, but we do discuss it on the occasion for sure. So, Representative Haskins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for, again, congratulations. Thank you for being here. I missed specific grades that you teach, or is this,
Yeah, great question. I'm a second grade teacher. I started at Canyon Creek in 4th grade. So yeah, it's a typical elementary school, just like any, like that has 36 elementary schools now, but we're just the only one that the teachers were all trained to do project-based learning. And so that's a building-wide focus. We also, within every grade level, we do about 2 projects a quarter, but then as a building, we have a school-wide project. We have something called a Giving Grove outside of our school, and we all work together as an entire school on that project as well.
sounds fantastic. Yesterday, we had superintendents here, and they gave some insight, and I was just going to ask you, one of the big issues was on retaining students, or retaining teachers into the field. What insight can you give us as far as your colleagues, how long they're staying, what do you see the future to be, and what can we do to best support retaining more students?
I think that's a huge topic right now in retaining teachers. That's definitely something we're all struggling with. I have found for me, part of what makes my job go round is the students, but then also the collaboration I have with my peers. And I hope you guys have that amongst each other as well, because it really makes coming to your job day in and day out important. And I think that surrounding teachers with good mentors, but good partners and teachers, that's really going to help. And sometimes it can feel surprisingly very isolating as a teacher, especially if you're in a single subject area that doesn't have someone else in the building teaching that same thing. That can sometimes feel isolating. And so I really see that if the more we can build that community within our job and supporting each other is a way to do that. And Olathe's been has some really great things in place for that, of really supporting teachers and building those communities. And then within every building, your culture, the building culture that you walk into a building is going to tell you whether or not that building is going to retain teachers, and understand what the administrator from top down is feeling, welcomed and stuff. If you ever stop by Canyon Creek, we're a lot of windows you can see in. And I think that's what makes us really unique, is we're really inviting, and teachers feel that. And so we want to come to work every day and be in our building, and I think that really helps with retention. Yeah.
So, and to piggyback on that, I visited Canyon Creek once. I love the windows. Your library was fascinating to me because I loved how the modernness, but like you said, with all the windows, but it's just a beautiful school. And so it was awesome to go through there. Any other questions from the committee? All right.
All for your time.
Thank you. Good having you here today. All right, I'll take volunteers, whoever wants to go next. All right, Bree McGranahan, how about that? Stanley Elementary. All right, the most important question is, did I pronounce that right? You did. Look, I got a reward. All right. Welcome, and congratulations.
Thank you. I'm Bree McGranahan. I teach in the Blue Valley School District. I teach at the same school that I went to in elementary school, which is fun. I started in Gardner, and I've kind of run the gamut in special education. So I'm K-5, self-contained, which means my students are with me all the time. I teach probably our most vulnerable population. I only have 8 students. 5 paras, and my kids are on a very functional path in life. So they have your most significant disabilities. They have, they're medically complex. They come with a lot of needs. And so I've done self-contained behavior where they're with me all day, and I've done resource, and I've done autism, and right now I'm doing functional life skills. So my room, my role, my life looks very different than most classrooms. But yeah.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so. I wasn't prepared to ask questions.
Representative Schmoy.
I worked in an elementary in life skills for 5 years as a para, and no question or anything, I just want to say how much I appreciate you and what you are doing. A lot of people go to bed at night and wonder if they've made a difference in the world. You absolutely have. So thank you for what you do.
Representative Schreiber.
Yeah, thank you. So within the Blue Valley School District, I mean, you have, what'd you say, 8 students? Are there other classroom, that have additional sped students that,
Like, in my building?
yeah.
Yeah, so we have my program, so intensive resource, which is your life skills. We have our lift classroom, which is your more autism, limited communication behaviors, and then we have resource as well. So we have a very high percentage of students in our building that are on IEPs.
What kind of percentages?
Like 40% of our building, which is lent itself to a lot of opportunities to create inclusive classrooms and conversations amongst like the general education students, the parents, the community, the staff, everybody around there. Just kind of wraps around all of our kids regardless of their ability.
Good, good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further questions, committee? Very good. Well, congrats again. Thanks for being here. All right, Erica, I'm going to pick on you next. Erica Threat? Ooh. All right.
That's okay.
My bad.
Every time someone gets that wrong, actually, my husband taught me this. When we first started dating, because I didn't know how to say it either, it's 3, like the number 3 with a T on the end. So that's how I always explain it to people, so.
I will not get it wrong again.
But yes, I'm Erica Threet. I am from Liberal, Kansas. I work at Meadowlark Elementary School. I have been in the 4th and 5th grade classroom for several years. I have worked in intervention with kindergarten through 5th grade students, and currently I am an instructional coach, so I get to help teachers. So, you know, starting out, making a difference in the lives of our students, and then working my way up to make a difference, a bigger difference in our building and in our district, and helping teachers navigate their success in the classroom. So I really enjoy my job. I have wanted to be in education since I was very little. My mom always tells the story that I had this little desk in our house that I would always play school and teach my little sister. And then, you know, I grew up having just such inspiring teachers in my education experience that led me to be where I am today as well. And fun fact, Senator Ron Reichman was my history teacher in high school and my volleyball coach in high school. So I got to talk with him today and catch up. It's been 11, 12 years since we've caught up, so.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I think I've met his son a time or two as well. All right. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't have any questions.
All right. We're starting a whole new precedent here. I like this. Committee, questions for Ms. Threet? Representative Schreiber.
So one of the things that came up yesterday with the superintendents, I forgot to ask the others, if whenever they come up, they might want to say something, but was how secure or safe their staff and teachers felt within their buildings and so forth. They were talking about, you know, different security measures and things like that. What's your perception?
Where I currently am, I do feel very safe. I have worked in a previous district where I did not feel as safe. Our building right now, you know, sorry, we have to have, you know, a badge to get in and out of every door. But when you walk into the front door, you're kind of in this separate little room where you can't enter the building unless you're called in. Like someone beeps you in or opens the door for you. And then every time you open like an outside door, it beeps. So you know, like if it's open, it can't just stay open. Somebody's got to go shut the door. So I do feel very safe. And we have our SROs on campus periodically in the elementary schools. They make their face known, you know, throughout our building if we need them. But I do feel safe in our buildings.
Further questions? Oh, Representative Estes.
You're doing interventions, and I'm curious, do you see us needing to do more? Have you seen an increase in the rate at which we need to do interventions for students? Okay, you're shaking your head, yes. And do you, what feedback do you have for us? I don't want to ask a leading question, but I'm kind of curious, like, are we preparing teachers well enough these days that they know some of these interventions? Because you're also coaching. Do you see areas that where we can improve on that?
You know, a lot of information that I could probably give. Starting with, you know, in Southwest Kansas, it's very hard to get certified teachers in that area. So that's a big issue as well that we are fighting. And so my role as an instructional coach is basically building from ground up our teachers, because they've never been to school for education. Some, you know, Liberal is known for National Beef, our beef packing plant. They, you know, okay, they want a better schedule for their children. Let's go try out the classroom. You know, they've never had that background. So them coming into the classroom, like I said, we're building from ground zero, and I'm really trying to help those teachers build success in their classroom. As far as intervention, we do have certified teachers in that role, but it starts in the classroom. It really does. It starts with that classroom instruction, and then, you know, if they aren't getting what they need in the classroom, then that's where they get that intervention. As far as intervention, in our building, we have approximately 380 students, kindergarten through 5th grade, and we only have 2 interventionists right now who do intervention, K-5. And they are stretched very, very thin. And when I was in that role, I definitely understand, because, you know, our goal is to get 5% of our student population receiving that support, that intervention. And right now, I don't know what percentage it is, but we are sitting very close to 50 students in our building. That doesn't include special education, that's just intervention students. And it's really hard to service all of their needs, because we aren't even picking up all of the students that need that support.
Representative Haskins.
Thank you very much. And you kind of went into my question here and answered, but I want you to build off that. Give us a typical day for you. What time do you get to school, and what time do you leave, and what does your day look like?
As an instructional coach, it definitely looks a lot different than being in the classroom. But our day starts at 7:30 for teachers, and teachers are in collaboration time. So they have 30 minutes of collaboration as a grade level team every day. So when I get to school, I divide my time during the week with each grade level, and I meet with them, talk about their weekly needs, scheduling, events, plans. And then throughout the day, it just depends. I am on a lot of district committees. So we meet with, you know, helping with personalized learning, our KESA, all of those different committees that I'm on. So I might be in meetings part of those days. But I also, I model lessons for teachers. If they are struggling with a math lesson or a reading lesson or intervention or ESL, I go in and I teach a model lesson or co-teach. We will set a time to plan a lesson together, and then I go in there and we teach it together. So that's part of my day. I do walkthroughs, and so I will walk through just classrooms, and then the next day I like to set aside some time during their planning period, and we go through that lesson. Like what went well, what didn't go well, you know, are the students' needs being met, what do we need to do differently? So.
And during your day, how much time is spent on reporting back on accountability, giving reports to administrators to justify that the work that you're doing is productive and needed?
In my building specifically, I meet with administration every Monday morning. And we do a pretty good half of the day until lunch, and we talk about our walkthrough data, any data that we collect on our district committees, our goals, our action plans that we have in place for our building, but it's weekly. And then we have another building leadership team that we meet monthly.
Sounds great. I consult some businesses. I wish they operated as well as that. So thank you very much.
Further questions, committee? We're good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. Jennifer Fallon, Washington Elementary. Wait a minute, you're supposed to tell us that. You go ahead. Welcome.
I'm Jennifer Fallon. I am an instructional coach, similar to what our last Erica just talked about. I have been teaching for 14 years. I taught primarily 5th grade with a few years of 4th grade in there, and then one semester of remote 3rd grade during COVID. And the last 2 years I've been an instructional coach. Yeah.
You got any questions for us?
No, not right now.
Committee questions for Ms. Fallon. Representative Haskins.
I'm the one on the committee that asks a lot of questions. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your service. But I'm curious, why did you make the transition out of the classroom into instructional coach?
Okay, so about 3 years ago, I saw the opportunity to help impact more students through working with their teacher. I wanted better collaboration across the classrooms, just the grade level teachers, and even pulling in our specials teachers, classroom management in the classroom. I wanted to be able to go in and really a bigger impact, yeah.
Representative Featherston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we've had discussions of like teacher mental health come up in committee. I'm sorry. You're the lucky one. So what things do you find are encouragers to your teachers, to your colleagues? What are discouragers? What can we do to be encouragers here in Topeka?
I feel like a lot of it is, I'm going to piggyback kind of on Sarah, that culture and climate in the building and knowing your staff. Like when you see that, oh, this particular teacher is maybe having a hard day, as a coach, being able to step in and help that, and then bringing it up at our leadership meetings and really working, both building and district, on supporting those teachers. Let's see. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? I really feel like a lot of ours, it is the culture. Having enough teachers to cover all the classrooms, not having to cover your coworkers' class, or currently in our building, we have a 4th grade position that myself and another instructional coach are helping to fill throughout the day. So I teach a math lesson, and then my teaching partner, or the other instructional coach, teaches a reading lesson, and then we have a math tutor who is a certified teacher teach some of the science and social studies. And so it's kind of pieced together because there aren't teachers right now to be able to hire for that position. We've tried for a while. So just knowing our coworkers and what they need, being able to take a mental health day when they need it, and not be questioned. Yeah. Anything else?
Come on up, Jessica.
Tag team on that, I was really happy to hear that you talked about teacher mental health. That is something that I have become very passionate about in my 11 years of teaching, and something that I feel like does not get talked about often enough. I even share with my colleagues all the time that I feel like it's kind of the silent killer, for lack of better words, right now amongst teachers. And a lot of times when people are talking about teacher mental health, they want to know what we need in our buildings. And we've talked about, oh, in our buildings, like, oh, we need that encouragement from our colleagues to feel like we have a place, but it's just one more thing that's coming down on teachers. And it's what really needs to happen is that people like you need to talk with your colleagues and need to think about the problem from an outside perspective, because we're doing so much inside. I, in my 11 years, have had to evacuate my classroom on occasion because of behaviors, and I am having to reassure students that they are safe and that that fellow student of theirs, is safe as well. That is something that nobody can prepare you for on the heaviness of helping children out. We have lots of things in place in our buildings, and matrices, all different kinds of things where we support students left and right, and we have that down. We need people to trust us. That's why we went into it. That's why we have our systems. We hold each other accountable 24/7 on that, for lack of better words. But what's not in place is matrices for teachers. When you have to evacuate your classroom or an event occurs in your classroom, you are anticipated and expected to immediately put on a face and keep going. You cannot show that it affected you. You cannot take a moment. There is no time for you to take a break. There is no time for you to go on a walk, to console yourself, to have a colleague give you a hug. That's not there. And it's no fault of our districts. It's no fault of the people in our buildings, our administration. They're all great. They're trying the best they can. They don't have that for themselves either. And so until people like you in your positions talk about that, then we can go into deeper holes too with class sizes. I teach in a building that is around 475 students. This is our first year being a Title I building, but before that we were not, and we had 2 interventionists for the whole building. We're a very diverse building. We're ESL, we're AVID, which I can get into more when I officially introduce myself. But the reason I bring that up is because, life comes together in our buildings. But as teachers, that weight is on us. And I know that you hear teachers say that all the time, but when teachers ask for more funding for you to hear us, we don't need more people to come back and say, oh, well, these are the things that now you need to do in that building, because we've already got 1,000. And I know you guys have 1,000 too, but until the community realizes that, I have colleagues right now that are getting tears because of emails that are sent to them from community and parents. And I know a lot of people could say, oh, things changed because of COVID. But I feel like when we had to teach online, when we went on to that, it built this mistrust that hasn't stopped in educators, because parents had to become teachers. They didn't go to school for that. They weren't prepared for that. That's hard to prepare them for that over a computer. My district went fully online for half the year. And then when we came back, half of my students were online and half were in person every other day. And I had to support the parents the best I could. And I'm not saying all parents are that way, but since then it's put this giant microscope on my profession, and I feel like everybody's always looking for that thing that you did wrong. And so if I'm being completely honest, when I got this title of master teacher, it was really hard for me to accept, because there are lots of things in my job, mental health-wise, that don't make you feel that way. So.
And I think to piggyback on that, all the training, all the guidance you get ahead of time doesn't necessarily fix the fact that when these things happen, there's still that human nature of the emotional response. And that's not something you can necessarily train yourself out of. And so I appreciate what you said there for sure. Representative Estes, and then Representative Younger.
Jessica, would you come back up, please? Thank you. I'm also a former teacher, and it's been a while. And when I look at how things have changed, we did talk about mental health because I think it's something we're all very concerned about. Last year, we even talked about a bill for when students and teachers are bullied. And when I graduated college, I never expected that my peers would feel bullied in the classroom. And you mentioned having to evacuate your class. So my question is, what do you attribute this to? And it's not a blame question, because I think the answer probably connects to many different reasons. And what is it that we need to do to get behavior back under control?
Well, I'm sure that you hear this answer a lot. I think that one of the things that really comes down to it is class size. Last year, I had 27 first graders in my classroom. And this year, I am down to 21, and I feel like I can do so much more. However, my 5th grade teachers in my building are sitting at 30 and over. And so when you don't have space in your classroom for children to move, for you to feel like you're making that one-on-one connection, which we all do all day, that can contribute a lot to students feeling like they are, you know, it's this cycle. We think of things in cycles. If my mental health as a teacher is not great, it's going to directly affect my students, whether they realize it or not. Not that I'm mistreating them, but if I am going in front of a classroom of 30 and I am just one person and I don't have the resources for the interventions that I need, all of that falls back on me as the teacher. So not only am I the teacher in that instance, but I'm also sometimes the special education teacher in that instance because I'm legally held to following that individual education plan. I'm the intervention teacher, I am the nurse, I am everything at that moment. So I feel like we have to look at that. You know, speaking from my own personal truth, my school district has closed 2 to 3 schools in the last 2 years. And so that has influxed not only class sizes, but we have had teachers switch buildings because of that, and their old buildings have closed. Because of budget cuts coming down from the state to my district, we have the same amount of students, but we had to cut the number of positions. And so then when you have these things that could be small fires, for lack of better words, they sometimes become bigger because of that. I think another thing that you have to look at is, you know, I feel like so many people, like, I feel bad I even said it, but so many people keep wanting to say, oh, well, because of COVID and education, oh, because of COVID and education. Well, we've moved beyond that, it's a new education. I think that there are some great things that came out of that in my own teaching practice as well. But one thing that I think that isn't thought about is that this increase in behavior with students, I do think sometimes comes with trust. Trust in the education system, whether it be from our politicians, our parents, our community. And, you know, that's social skills. I'm so glad most schools are transitioning to having social skills in their curriculum. We have morning meetings, things like that, which are all great. But again, I don't have a magic wand and I can't solve all the problems. And then that's where we get back into funding. And I know that you hear teachers say it all the time. I know that you hear constituents say it all the time, that we have to fund our public schools and things like that. But if the reason why is because if we don't have the resources to take care of it, then we're going to have to keep evacuating classrooms. And it's not that I want these students taken care of. They have every right to be there just as much as all of my other students. I love and I care for them. I'm there to help them with all that. But the reality is that that is starting to happen more and more because we're cramming kids into smaller spaces with less people.
Yes, thank you. I understand the class size issue. When my smallest class I ever had was 28. And I usually started off the year in the 30s. So my first follow-up question to you is, if you had smaller class sizes, would you have the teachers to fill those spots?
That's a really great question. That is something that I feel like I could answer confidently no at the moment.
Okay.
And I know that that goes into that decision. You know, teacher preparation is doing the best they can. I do know that you guys have recently talked about extending potentially some different various ways to license teachers and programs. And I would encourage you to think about that. That's not the answer to this problem of getting people in the classroom. Just because you have a person in there doesn't mean that they are highly qualified for that position. And I'm sure there are some people that are great, but there is something to say about going to an education program at a post-secondary school. Officially introducing myself, I'm Jessica Brown. I teach first grade. Kind of getting to that, I teach at an AVID elementary. I'm an AVID teacher, which stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. A lot of times you see this as an elective in a middle school or high school, but at my elementary site it is school-wide. And my students start using binders in the classroom in kindergarten. So we teach organization, writing, inquiry, reading. And the reason I bring that up is because we're career focused in the terms of we talk to students about what do you want to do when you graduate high school? And instead of pushing college, it's, oh, you want to own your own pizza store or pizza shop, this is how you get there. Oh, you want to be a politician, these are the steps you can take to get there. Oh, you want to be a teacher, you can go to college, and here is how you can get there. So I feel like the short answer is no, but I just need people to understand that extending the ways to get into the classroom doesn't solve the problem either. It might bring more people, but then you're having people like our learning coaches that are starting from ground zero that are having to build that up. I also see so many teachers, the turnover is already not great because of mental health, and then those teachers that are going in my own experience, aren't staying much longer anyway because they're not prepared for what they're seeing.
I think the real answer is we need to pay more, but that's another discussion. And just so you know, we did, because I've tried to sneak pay raises and bills, and I get my hand spanked, but that's okay. Just so you know, the bill that we voted on today that did have an alternative path included having those potential teachers taking their education courses through a program before they got into the classroom, and I think that might help the alternative licensure path.
Jessica, I hate to interrupt. I know you guys got to be on the Senate floor in a minute, and I think we have one or two more teachers to get up and introduce themselves. Ms. Fallon, do you have anything else you want to tell us? No? All right, and Jessica, thank you for your passion as well. You stole my question, Representative Featherston, about mental health, but I'm glad that came up. And I'll touch on that more in a minute. Lindsay Dowell. No. Not quite.
Have you heard the term imposter syndrome? I mean, God, wow, holy cow.
Imposter? No.
These guys are amazing educators, and what a great opportunity to be able to listen to them speak so passionately about their jobs and their impact on our students. My name's Lindsay Dow. I am a gifted facilitator at Washburn Rural Middle School here in Topeka, Kansas. I've been in education for 18 years. I started as a science teacher, a 7th grade science teacher at Washburn Rural Middle School. So I've been in the Auburn-Washburn district my entire career, and it's been a fantastic experience for me.
Awesome. Do you have any questions for us?
I feel like if I ask a question, you're going to ask it back at me. I am curious what you guys think. I mean, I know Representative, was it Estes that said, I think the answer is more pay. But what do you find, or what do you feel like is the biggest issue with teacher retention in our state right now? And do you involve teachers in these conversations as you are having these committees and trying to solve these problems and writing, these bills come up? Are you involving teachers in that conversation as well? I guess that's my question. 2 questions for you.
So let me touch on that a little bit. So the NEA is here all the time, and there's been several bills that they've had their hands in and that we've worked together on. So we do get some feedback from them. And then 2 weeks ago, what we started doing last year was a tradition of kind of doing roundtables. We started with school board members. We did that twice. And then we did one this year with teachers. We ended up with 7 or 8, I believe 8, even through WebEx. And so hearing from them directly, and even just the other day, yesterday actually, we had superintendents. So yeah, those conversations are happening. I would argue they need to happen more often, and that's what we're trying to do. What we're hearing as far as teacher retention, at least what I've heard, and I know some others will probably have some opinions on this, is the overall behavior in the classroom comes up a lot. Parents comes up a lot. Pay comes up a lot. And support comes up a lot. And that support can range anywhere from up here in this room all the way down to their local level. So those are the things we hear. I know when it comes to budgets, I know that it was mentioned ago, we haven't cut the budget. The budget's been constitutionally funded. Now, with regards to, I know special ed's come up a few times. Those are conversations. We actually just passed that out of committee and added $77.5 million to special ed. And we're looking into how we can do more. So these conversations happen all the time. Mental health came up. I mean, I have teachers I've met with that literally just go, like, I've heard it from multiple people, like, what about our mental health? And I'm like, I agree with you. So we listen to that all the time. We had a bill about potentially allowing chaplains in school. Just another sort of tool to have in the box, like, is this something that will be helpful? But then, certain actions have consequences. So a lot of these things we do talk a lot about, but I think you're exactly right. We need to make sure we're hearing from teachers a lot more often. And I know in this committee, I think we've tried really hard to make sure that everybody has a seat at the table And I'll let anybody else that has a comment on this as well. Representative Haskins.
That's a really good question. And I'm going to be open, and I feel like I've been open in this committee before. If this committee was a bubble, I'm quite certain that we would stay focused on the issues at hand and find solutions. Unfortunately, because everyone in here is committed to the betterment of public education and the betterment of for our students' futures. Unfortunately, like everybody else, you know, that in life have different stakeholders. And so once we leave this room, it becomes a little murky, if you will. Those questions that those good questions that you ask and that you come and present, and I hope you run for office someday, I would listen to you all day long. I will just tell you that we need help. We need you to come up and ask those questions. We need you to keep us accountable. And we need to make sure that we're listening and trusting, and this dialogue is important. And my colleague here wants some time, but if I keep talking, you won't. And speaking of accountability, I have a daughter at Washburn Earl Middle School, and if you could check in to make sure she goes to class, and I'm looking at the camera, you know who I'm talking about, daughter, I would appreciate that.
Representative Stogsdill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with my colleague. I think everybody here in this room is dedicated to making education better in Kansas. I taught second grade for 7 years, was full-time NEA president in Shawnee Mission for 3 terms, and taught at K-State for a couple of years in the education department. So I not only sympathize with you, I empathize with you on a number of these issues. What makes me really angry, and I think probably makes a lot of teachers angry and makes them think about getting out of education. We have groups that come up here to the Capitol building and around the country and the national discourse and everything, blaming teachers for everything. Blaming teachers for things they have absolutely no control over whatsoever, societal issues, parental issues, that sort of thing. And I think any time that you guys can get your message out about what exactly you do, and it's going to be very important. And that's a thing that we need to be doing more of here in this building. And we need to be pushing back against those people that would like to pretty much damage public education. And I'm sick of it, and I know you guys have to be sick of it by hearing about it in the papers and so on like that. So we've got to work on that. We've got to restore the reputation of teachers and the excellent job they do, not only in Kansas, but across this country. So.
And I agree with a lot of that for sure, because so many of the issues that I feel like around results and accountability start at home. And it is oftentimes easier to blame the teacher for what we heard yesterday from the superintendents, from cultural, climate, things that happen outside of the school, and I think that's a very valid point. And as I said earlier, I think this committee specifically, we try to make sure that you guys have your voices heard on a lot of these issues. So I think Representative Younger had something to say real quick, and then we got to let these folks get to the Senate floor. They start late anyway, so I wouldn't.
You've pushed me off, so it won't be quick, so thank you. But I'm excited to hear. I hadn't heard that 77 million had been put
77.5 in additional funding, yeah.
Been put back in. Now, I want you guys to know that's not enough. It needs to be for the next 4 or 5 years to get fully funded, okay? So hold our feet to the fire to make sure that that happens. It's a good start. I applaud that start. I'm ecstatic about it. I've been wearing this button for a long time, so I'm happy about that. So, but you got to hold our feet to the fire for that. Just a quick question. I know we don't have enough time, but you know, we heard I was in education for a long time, and once upon a time, I was in a smaller district outside of Wichita. We'd have an elementary vacancy, and I'd get 100 applicants for an elementary position. We had superintendents yesterday, I believe it was from Yucatan, said they had an elementary PE. They didn't get a single applicant for elementary PE. The other ones, before I retired, the other difficult positions to fill were elementary positions. You couldn't fill them. So from you guys' perspective, what's keeping people from coming in? You know, we hear, again, as the chair said, we've heard all kinds of things,
But I think
but
it's
from-
all of those things.
Thank you,
and
thank
it's
you.
all of those things, and then you add on to it that it isn't a great paycheck. So I can go and do another professional career and make more money and not have to deal with all of those things. Also, we found, and I don't know if you guys have found this, that, you know, our younger generation is really transient. They don't stick in the same place for, you know, 3 or 4. I've been in the same building for almost 18 years now, and the amount of turnover since I started, it seems like that transient community. So how do we get kids and that are graduating from college to stay in one place? You know, small southwestern Kansas districts, that's tough. But I think the things that you said, Representative Thomas, added on to the fact that it is not a great paying job, which we all knew going into it, it wasn't. But those things coupled together make it really hard to retain teachers.
I've got one more piece of advice for you is, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but know who your representative is. Know who your senator is. And you have to contact them. You know, if you can get their cell phone number. When you're watching on TV, all these committees are on TV, watch them. You know, they're recorded, so, you know, obviously you can't watch it during the day, but watch them. And contact people so that we hear from you. That's just so important. So thank you for everything you guys do. Appreciate it.
Thank you all very much. We definitely need to be encouraging our school board members when it comes to teacher pay, because we all know that's where the increase in teacher pay comes from. Committee, you have seen the updated schedule. We got a couple of bills we're going to hear next week. Be prepared. One of them was the blueprint for reading that we had an informational jointly with the Senate on. That's a very in-depth bill. I know it's a starting point, but that's going to be a pretty decent discussion, I feel like. Go ahead.
What was that number, Mr.
That was 2839, House Bill 2839. That was the one we did the joint meeting with the Senate regarding reading and all of that. So, and then we have Senate Bill 438 on Wednesday. So I'm just making sure everybody saw the update to the calendar, which has been sent out. And then we'll also we'll look at approving more minutes on Tuesday. We're not meeting tomorrow. We have no meeting scheduled on Monday. So with that, y'all have a good day. We're adjourned.